All right, let's dive into this pile of motivational talks and see what gems we can unearth for our listeners.
Sounds like a plan.
This deep dive is all about success, achieving goals, building that unshakable confidence. We're going to unpack some pretty powerful insights from these talks.
I think the biggest takeaway for me was the emphasis on belief. Like really believing in yourself and the possibility of achieving your goals is the first step.
Makes sense. I mean, there's that classic Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. These talks actually give some real-world examples of how this works in practice.
Oh, like what?
Well, one speaker asked his audience to imagine a world without jails in the next 25 years. Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But get this, when he challenged them to actually believe it was possible, they came up with 78 concrete solutions.
78. Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Like, what kind of solutions?
Everything from creating more youth centers and addressing poverty to even exploring early crime prediction methods.
Wow, so just by shifting their mindset to believing it could be done, they unlocked a whole new level of creativity.
Exactly. Instead of focusing on the roadblocks, their brains started generating possibilities.
That's so cool. But how does that apply to, like, say, my own career goals?
Well, think about a time you told yourself, I could never get that promotion, or I'm just not a public speaker.
Oh, yeah, been there.
Right. That's your mind putting up those mental roadblocks.
Yeah.
But if you flip the script and ask, what would it take to get there? You start to see a path forward.
So it's like belief is the launch pad for success. What else did these talks highlight?
Well, they also really push back against what one speaker called traditional thinking. That idea of clinging to old ways of doing things just because that's how it's always been done.
Oh, yeah, like we've been doing it this way for 100 years, so it must be good.
Exactly. He argues that this kind of thinking can actually be a major obstacle to success. He gave an example of a company that used to be a leader in its industry, but they refused to adapt to new technology.
Oh, no, what happened?
While their competitors were innovating, they were stuck in their old ways, clinging to the past. Guess what? They ended up losing a huge chunk of market share.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson. So what's the antidote to this traditional thinking trap?
Well, he suggested we need to become what he called experimental people, always looking for ways to improve and break free from those old routines.
Did he give any specific tips on how to do that?
Yeah, he challenged us to actively seek out new ideas, be willing to try new things, even if they seem a little bit scary at first. Even making small changes can help.
Like what?
Like taking a different route to work or trying a new type of food. Just shaking things up a bit can open your mind to fresh perspectives.
I love that. It reminds me of all those books about developing a growth mindset. It's not about being perfect. It's about constantly learning and evolving.
Exactly. Now imagine you've got this solid foundation of belief and you're ready to ditch those traditional thinking traps. The next big challenge is capacity, being able to actually make things happen.
Capacity, yeah, that was a big theme in these talks. And it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart and being able to handle more and more responsibility.
Right. One speaker told a story about an executive who took on his departing colleagues' entire workload on top of his own.
Whoa, that's a lot. Did he survive?
He did more than survive, he thrived. It actually led to a promotion, a raise, and a whole new level of confidence for him.
Okay, I'm going to need to hear more about this guy's secrets because that sounds pretty daunting. Did he have any strategies for managing such a massive workload?
He emphasized the importance of ruthlessly prioritizing, focusing on those high-impact tasks first. And he also talked about delegating effectively and utilizing the strengths of his team.
It sounds like he really mastered the art of working smarter, not harder.
He did, and that's a lesson we can all apply in our own lives.
Yeah.
It's not about burning ourselves out, it's about using our time and energy strategically.
This is making me think about that time excusitis concept we talked about in a previous deep dive. You know how we let distractions and excuses steal our time? Right. But when we focus on building our capacity, we actually become more efficient, more effective, which then frees up more time and energy to pursue our goals.
It's a beautiful cycle, isn't it? The more we do, the more we realize we can do, and the more confident we become in our abilities. But to keep that cycle going, there's another crucial element we need to talk about: listening.
Listening. Now that seems a bit counterintuitive. Wouldn't action be the next logical step after capacity?
Action is definitely crucial, but these speakers made a really strong case for the power of listening, especially for leaders.
How so?
Well, think about it. Leaders are constantly making decisions right.
Right.
And to make good decisions, informed decisions, they need to gather information, understand different perspectives.
And that's where listening comes in.
Exactly. One speaker observed that all the top executives he'd met were all incredible listeners.
So it's not just about hearing what people are saying, but actually absorbing that information, processing it, using it to make smarter decisions.
Exactly. These speakers had some great tips for improving our own listening skills, too.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear them.
One suggestion was to encourage people to talk by asking open-ended questions. Instead of saying, "Do you agree?" Try asking, "Tell me about your experience with this."
Ah, so we're inviting them to share their insights and perspectives, not just looking for a yes or no answer.
Exactly. It shows that you genuinely value what they have to say, which is huge for building trust and rapport.
Absolutely. Any other listening tips?
Yeah, another great technique is to test your own assumptions by framing them as questions instead of statements.
So instead of saying, here's what we're going to do,
You could say, "What if we tried this approach? What are the potential benefits and drawbacks?"
oh, I love that. It's so simple, but it totally changes the dynamic. It invites collaboration and creates a space for feedback and discussion.
And probably prevents a lot of those my way or the highway clashes.
Totally. So we've got belief, capacity, and listening as key ingredients for success. What else did these motivational gurus have to say?
Well, they all agree that confidence is absolutely essential. It's that inner fire that fuels our actions and propels us towards our goals.
Makes sense, but what if you're not naturally a confident person? Can you really learn to be more confident?
Absolutely. They are adamant that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop through experience and by taking action.
So it's not about waiting to feel confident before you do something. It's about doing things that build your confidence.
Precisely. One speaker told this great story about WWII Navy recruits who were terrified of swimming. Even though they had expert swimmers standing by for safety, they were just paralyzed by fear until they were literally pushed into the pool.
Oh, wow. Talk about tough love. But I guess it worked.
It did. It's a perfect illustration of the principle that action is the antidote to fear. By facing their fear head on, they were able to overcome it.
That's so powerful. It reminds me of that managed motions concept. You know, how our physical actions can actually influence our thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. If we want to feel more confident, we need to start acting in confident ways. And you know what? These talks actually gave us a whole bunch of practical, actionable strategies for doing just that.
Okay, I'm definitely ready to hear these confidence-boosting strategies.
All right, so let's dive into those confidence-building strategies. One of the simplest but most effective ones is what one speaker called being a front seater.
Front seater. You mean like literally sitting in the front row?
Yeah.
How does that build confidence?
Well, think about it. When you walk into a meeting or a conference, where do most people gravitate towards?
Probably the back, trying to blend in. I've been there.
Exactly. They're trying to stay invisible. But when you choose to sit up front, you're making a statement.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, I'm here, I'm engaged, I'm ready to participate.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift in mindset, but it can have a big impact on how you feel and how others perceive you.
I love that. It's like a physical manifestation of that inner confidence we're trying to cultivate.
Exactly. And another powerful action that can boost your confidence is eye contact. One speaker actually called it the ultimate gesture of confidence.
I get why eye contact is important in everyday conversations, but how does it apply to like work presentations or networking events?
Think about the message you send when you avoid eye contact.
Yeah.
It can come across as insecure, untrustworthy, or even like you're hiding something.
Right. It's like you're not fully present.
But when you meet someone's gaze directly, it shows you're honest, self-assured, and genuinely interested in connecting with them.
You know, I've actually noticed that myself. When I make a conscious effort to maintain eye contact, I do feel more confident, but also more connected to the other person.
Exactly. It's a small tweak, but it can make a huge difference. Speaking of small tweaks, one speaker had this really interesting suggestion. He said we should try walking 25% faster.
Wait, what? Walk faster. Is he suggesting we all become speed walkers? I don't get it.
It's not about speed walking. It's about the energy you project. Someone who's shuffling along with their head down might convey a lack of confidence or enthusiasm.
Ah, okay, I see.
But when you walk with purpose, with a bit of pep in your step, it projects an air of confidence and determination.
So it's about embodying that I've got this attitude.
Exactly. And sometimes, by changing our physical behavior, we actually start to feel those emotions internally as well. Which brings us to another key tool, speaking up.
yeah. That's a big one for me. I know so many brilliant people who have incredible ideas but are terrified to share them in meetings or group settings.
The speakers were really clear that this fear of speaking up can be incredibly damaging to our confidence. Every time we stay silent, we reinforce that inner voice that says, I'm not good enough, I don't have anything valuable to say.
It's like we're robbing ourselves of the opportunity to contribute. So how do we break free from that?
One speaker offered a simple but powerful challenge. He said, make it a rule to speak up in every meeting, even if it's just a small comment or a question.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be really challenging for some people.
It definitely pushes you outside your comfort zone.
Hmm.
But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And it's not just about overcoming fear. It's about recognizing that your voice matters.
I love that. We all have unique perspectives to share. All right, so we've got front seating, eye contact, walking with purpose, and speaking up. What's the final confidence-boosting action in our arsenal?
This one might surprise you. Smiling.
Smiling, really? I mean, I get that a smile can make you feel more approachable and friendly, but I'm not sure I see it as a confidence booster.
These speakers actually made a really compelling case for the power of a genuine smile.
Mm-hmm.
They argued it's a secret weapon against insecurity and negativity.
Interesting. But sometimes a forced smile feels so inauthentic.
Oh, absolutely. We're not talking about fake smiles.
Yeah.
Those can definitely backfire. But a genuine smile, even if you have to consciously choose it at first, can have a profound impact on your inner state.
It's like that experiment we did earlier where we held a big smile for a few seconds. I was surprised by how quickly it shifted my mood.
Exactly. There's a real physiological connection between our facial expressions and our emotions. One speaker told this hilarious story about getting rear-ended in traffic. He was furious, understandably, but when the other driver got out of the car with a sincere smile and an apology, his anger just completely melted away.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like the smile disarmed the situation.
Exactly. A genuine smile can de-escalate tension, build rapport, and create a more positive atmosphere. And the best part is, it benefits both the smiler and the receiver.
So we've got 5 powerful tools to boost our confidence. Being a front seater, eye contact, walking with purpose, speaking up, and smiling big. I love that these are all things we can start doing today.
And they all reinforce that fundamental principle. Action is key. It's not enough to just think about being confident. We need to actively behave in confident ways. Which actually reminds me of another important theme from the talks, the importance of turning ideas into action. It's not enough to have great ideas. We need to actually do something with them.
So true. It's so easy to get caught up in the brainstorming phase and never take that next step.
Right. One speaker talked about the importance of keeping a notebook handy to jot down those fleeting thoughts and ideas that pop into our heads throughout the day.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big believer in capturing those ideas before they disappear.
He said that even a mediocre idea acted upon is 100% better than a brilliant idea that never sees the light of day.
I love that. Action over perfection.
He actually contrasted 2 personality types, Mr. A, who's all about taking action, and Mr. P, who's stuck in procrastination mode.
Oh, I know a few Mr. P's.
Right. Mr. A is out there getting things done, building momentum, growing his confidence, while Mr. P is still thinking about it, second-guessing himself, letting fear hold him back.
Oh, that's such a great illustration. It really highlights the power of action.
It does. It also ties back to that concept of time excusitis we've talked about before. Mr. P is the classic time excusitis sufferer.
Totally. Always finding means to delay, to put things off. But how do we shift from being a Mr. P to a Mr. A? How do we overcome that inertia and start taking action even when it feels scary or overwhelming?
Well, one strategy that really resonated with me was what one speaker called the mechanical starting method.
Mechanical starting method. What's that?
It's a technique often used by writers who are struggling with writer's block. Instead of waiting for inspiration to strike, they just start writing, even if it's gibberish at first.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. It's like tricking your brain into getting started.
Exactly. The point is to bypass that initial resistance and just get the ball rolling. And once you start moving, it's often easier to keep going.
So it's like taking the thinking out of the equation and just acting. I love that.
And the great thing is, this technique can be applied to any task, not just writing. If you're dreading a big project, don't overthink it. Just pick a small piece and start working on it.
That's so helpful. It's like a permission slip to just start, even if you don't feel ready or motivated. But what about those times when we do take action, we put ourselves out there and things don't go as planned? How do we deal with those setbacks and failures without letting them crush our confidence?
That's where resilience comes in. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle resilience. That ability to bounce back from setbacks, to adapt, and to just keep moving forward no matter what life throws at you.
It's like having that inner strength, that unbreakable spirit that helps you weather those inevitable storms.
Exactly. But how do we actually build that kind of resilience?
Well, one speaker emphasized the importance of managing expectations. He told this story about a guy named George who had this incredibly detailed document outlining all of his expectations for a future spouse.
Oh, wow. Like what kind of expectations?
I mean, it covered everything: her religious beliefs, how many kids she wanted, even her bad
Okay,
habits.
that's a bit much.
Right. He was basically looking for someone to perfectly match this idealized checklist.
So what happened?
Well, when he presented this document to his fiancée, she was understandably horrified. She felt suffocated, controlled. The relationship ended pretty quickly.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. It's like he was so focused on this perfect plan that he forgot about the human element, the need for flexibility and compromise in any relationship.
Exactly. And the speaker contrasted George's approach with another couple, Jim and Susan, who were trying to buy a house. They didn't seem to have enough money, but instead of giving up, they took a more resilient approach.
So what did they do?
They negotiated with the builder. They got creative with their financing. Susan even found a way to take on some extra work.
And in the end, they got their dream house.
They did. It's a perfect example of how a willingness to adapt, to be flexible, can help us overcome seemingly impossible obstacles.
So it's about finding that balance between having a plan and being open to adjusting that plan as needed.
Exactly. And that's where confidence comes in again. When you believe in yourself, when you trust your ability to handle whatever comes your way, you're more likely to take risks, to embrace those challenges, and ultimately to achieve your goals.
It's like having that faith that even if things don't go exactly according to plan, you'll figure it out.
Right. And if you do stumble or fall, resilience helps you get back up, dust yourself off, and learn from those mistakes. There's a great quote from one of the talks: "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit."
Wow, I love that. It's a reminder that even those tough times, those setbacks, can actually lead to something positive.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Setbacks aren't failures. They're opportunities to learn and grow. But, sometimes those setbacks can trigger some pretty negative emotions: fear, anger, discouragement. How do we deal with those feelings so they don't sabotage our efforts?
Well, one speaker had a surprisingly simple suggestion. He said, smile.
Yeah. We talked about smiling as a confidence booster, but he argued that it's also an incredibly effective tool for managing stress and negativity.
I'm not sure I buy it. Sometimes forcing a smile when you're feeling down just feels fake and makes things worse.
Oh, for sure, a fake, forced smile won't do much. But a genuine smile, even if it starts as a conscious choice, can really shift your emotional state. Remember that story about the guy who got rear-ended and how the other driver's smile totally diffused the situation?
Yeah, that was a great example.
Right. It's like a smile can create space for a more positive interaction, even in a really stressful situation.
So it's about finding ways to shift our perspective, to choose a more positive outlook, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And smiling is just one tool in that emotional resilience toolkit. Deep breathing, mindfulness, even just taking a break from a stressful situation can help you regain your composure and approach things with a clearer mind.
It's like remembering that we have a choice in how we respond to adversity. We can let it control us, or we can use it as an opportunity to grow.
That's the essence of resilience, isn't it? It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about developing the inner strength to face them head on.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We explored the power of belief, the importance of capacity, the art of listening, the fuel of confidence, the magic of action, and the absolute necessity of resilience.
And we learned that confidence isn't some magical quality you're born with. It's a skill you can develop.
It's about embracing challenges, understanding that setbacks are inevitable, but they don't have to define us.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question. What step will you take today to put these incredible insights into action?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of success. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration of ideas that can truly transform your life.